little bit of movement anyway on the country's borrowing limit, though.
Yes, that's right. I mean, overall, this stalemate is continuing, but many are now focusing a week ahead from now, October the 17th. In fact, that's the key date. That's the date when the US has to increase this borrowing limit, or the debt ceiling, as it's called. Otherwise, the government says it risks defaulting on some of its debts. Well, a glimmer of hope. Perhaps leaders of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives could be considering a short-term increase in that debt ceiling, but of course they're likely to attach conditions. We don't know what those are yet, but we do know that a meeting is scheduled for later this Thursday between President Obama and members of the Congress.
Now, some big investment funds are already preparing for a default, though, aren't they?
Yes, that's right. Now, Fidelity Investments, that's one of the biggest fund managers around. Now, they say that they are actually selling their short-term US government debt, the stuff that comes due in late October and early November, which is the period that's worrying people here. They say that that's to protect their clients. But interestingly, some others are going the other way. Now, the world's biggest fund manager is run by that man, Bill Gross. It's called PIMCO, the company. And in fact, they are buying up debt. He said that the chances of the US defaulting on its debt are very small. So it'll be interesting to see which way this goes, and I guess who makes the most money out of it all.
Yeah, exactly. What are the markets making of it at the moment?
Well, the dollar, in fact, there's been a sort of little bit of confidence increase, and the dollar's been rising off its recent lows. Now, that's had the effect of weakening the yen, as usual. That's a good thing for the Japanese stock market, with the index there, Nikkei, rising. The others, though, down, as you can see, and, well, the impact of the shutdown being felt keenly in the markets, of course, but also in Washington itself. Now, unlike other cities in the US, it needs Congress to approve any spending. Well, the mayor says that the stalemate means the city could run out of money to pay for essential services. Oliver Farry has more.
The United States continues to function despite the federal government shutdown, but its capital city is being tightly squeezed. Washington, D.C. depends on Congress for all its funding, and it has now found its finances crippled by the government deadlock. Mayor Vincent Gray led a demonstration on Capitol Hill Wednesday, where he urged Congress to release funds for the city.
Families in Chicago or Cincinnati or Las Vegas, they're not worried about their local governments, that they won't be able to provide basic services. They're not worried about their schools. They're not worried about their police and fire protection or their health services or their trash collection. And neither should the families and residents of the District of Columbia have to worry about that, because it is our money, ladies and gentlemen.
The city of Washington has even had to cover refuse collection for national monuments that have been shut down for the past 9 days. The situation has led to growing anger among its citizens.
I think that the federal government is holding our money back, and we working with individuals that depend on us and the money that they're holding. So they need to release it so we can better take care of our individuals.
Vincent Gray now finds himself locked in a standoff with fellow Democrats. Washington, D.C. is particularly helpless, having only token representation and no voting rights in Congress.
Problems continuing in Washington there. Well, meanwhile, let's get some of the day's company news. And time could be running out for the struggling Italian airline, Alitalia. It risks having its fuel supply cut off as early as this Saturday. The Italian oil firm Eni says it will stop providing fuel unless it's reassured the airline has a future and can pay its bills. Alitalia wants to raise €100 million to avoid bankruptcy.
Flights in France look set to be disrupted today due to a strike by air traffic controllers. The country's civil aviation authority urging airlines to scale back services by 10%. Unions are opposed to moves to create a single European air traffic control system.
And some good news for Twitter as it prepares to list its shares in New York. It's now overtaken Facebook as the most popular social network among teenagers in the US. Study says that Twitter was favoured by 26% of teens. That's just ahead of Facebook and Instagram, each on 23%.
Little bit of consolation for Facebook, though, could come in the form of a Nobel Peace Prize.
That's right. It's a strange one, this, isn't it? But, well, the Nobel Peace Prize, it will be announced this Friday in Oslo. And, yes, it seems that Facebook could be one of the contenders. Now, the reason for that is apparently it's the role that it played during the Middle East's Arab Spring, where course, it played a role in helping people communicate and demonstrating and all of that kind of thing as well. We'll see what happens, of course. Competition tough, though. Apparently, there's a record 259 candidates up for this year, but you often get some surprise choices. The European Union won last year, remember? And so we'll see what happens on Friday.
Perhaps it'll be Facebook this year and Twitter the year after. Who knows?
Maybe.
Matthew, thanks a lot. Matthew with business here on France 24. Now, coming up for you, a paranormal phenomenon in the New York City coffee shop. Find out more about that in a moment. Web News will tell you why. It starts, though, with outrage over Lampedusa.
A week after a boat carrying